Greetings, loyal subjects. This is the tomb and chancery chapel of my brother, Arthur Tudor, Prince of Wales, the first husband of Catherine of Aragon. It's in Worcester Cathedral. But the question is, how did Arthur Tudor end up being buried in Worcester Cathedral? Well, I suppose the story really starts on the 14th of November 1501. This is when Arthur married Catherine of Aragon. They were both 15 years of age. The marriage took place in Old St Paul's Cathedral in the middle of London. Afterwards, there was a huge party at Barnard's Castle. A young Prince Henry, who you may well have heard of in later years, danced on the tables in his shirt sleeves, but did not incur the wrath of his mother and father. Later that evening, a bedding ceremony took place for the new happy couple. In fact, the only recorded bedding ceremony ever to have taken place in the 16th century. Shortly after the wedding, the happy couple moved to Ludlow Castle. Arthur was Prince of Wales, and this was the traditional seat of the prince. And it was there that they set up home. However, in March 1502, tragedy struck. Illness was about. A quote from the day said, "Malign vapour which proceeded from the air hit the couple. Both Arthur and Catherine grew sick." What this sickness was, we still aren't sure. It could well have been the fabled sweating sickness that mysteriously hit England shortly after my father's victory at the Battle of Bosworth. Whatever it was, Catherine recovered, but Arthur did not. He died on the 2nd of April 1502, leaving the 15-year-old Catherine of Aragon a widow. News reached London on the 4th of April. Unsurprisingly, my father and my mother were devastated. It would have been difficult to move Arthur's body back to London from Ludlow. So instead, a decision was taken to bury him at Worcester Cathedral. There was easy access to Worcester via the River Severn, and King John was already buried there. It seemed like the obvious choice. So on the 25th of April, Arthur's body was taken to Worcester. Firstly, on a cart drawn by 6 horses draped in black, and then on a barge on the River Severn, all the way down to the medieval Watergate. Arthur's funeral was an elaborate affair. The highlight, when a knight dressed in the prince's armour rode up the nave of the cathedral and at the high altar ceremoniously stripped himself of the armour. Then Arthur's officers broke their staves of office and threw them into the grave. It was only 2 years later that work began on his chancery chapel. It took 12 years to complete. By this stage, I was firmly on the throne. Interestingly, his widow, Catherine of Aragon, never visited Arthur's grave. It was customary at the time for the widow not to attend the funeral. But it is strange that a visit was never made. Neither did myself. I disassociated myself with death as much as possible. I never attended funerals and dismissed all talk of it. However, my 2 daughters, Mary and Elizabeth, both visited Worcester on separate occasions and paid visits to the tomb of their uncle.